The weather has been shit lately, and I just wanted to do some rainy day activities. If, by the way, you just want to do the quiz and don't want to hear me talk, then just skip right to it. I've got a timestamp. Just for you. Hello! Welcome to my channel. My name is Lena, and I love quizzes more than a lot of things. In fact, I regularly took part at pub quizzes with my friends. Since COVID hit planet Earth and bars are closed, this is no longer possible anymore. I just discovered that my shirt is wet. I'm gonna change quickly. Now I sat down and because why not? I created my own quiz. And originally this was meant to just play with my friends as a sort of fun activity. But you know what? I've got a booktube channel, so why not share this quiz? Maybe somebody else loves quizzing as much as I do. You can play this quiz either alone or with a friend. If you're playing it alone, you're just simply playing it against yourself, trying to get the highest score possible. If you're playing it against a friend, then of course the person with the highest score wins the game. It is up to you however you decide to play it. It's also possible to play it with multiple friends, not just one friend. Just wanted to put it out there. So this whole quiz is divided into fields of knowledge. Within these fields, I will ask a couple of questions regarding the main topic of the field, and in between changing the fields, I will throw in a quick round. So that means that I will just simply ask a quick question that is not related to any of the other topics, and that if you answer it correctly, will give you a bonus point. There is a slight possibility that I have used the wrong sources or that my sources are not correct. So if that happens and you know better than I do, then just give yourself a point. I am just going off of the things that I have Googled. There should be something in this quiz for everyone. I've tried my best. And with that said, without any further ado, let's start the quiz. First round, who am I? Do you know which author is on this picture? I will give you 5 seconds per picture until I will reveal the name of the author, but you can of course just simply pause the video if you need more time. I doubt that you didn't know who that was. That was J.K. Rowling. Let's move on to the next one. This beloved grandpa would go under the name of J.R.R. Tolkien. Did you know who she was? That was Toni Morrison. And this was just a lovely picture of Oscar Wilde. Of course I couldn't resist from putting in a picture of my beloved author from Never Let Me Go. This is Kazuo Ishiguro. This lovely young man is called Franz Kafka. Did you know who that was? I know it was more of a modern one, but I wanted to throw him in there. His name is Colson Whitehead. I wonder if you could recognize who this funny lady was. This was Astrid Lindgren. This picture was a picture of Victor Hugo. Now I wanted to end this with another modern character. This was Hanya Yanagihara. So let's move over to our next category, but not before I ask you my quick question. Do you perhaps happen to know what George Orwell's actual name is? The original name George Orwell was born with was Eric Arthur Blair. Let's move over to our next topic, which is Nobel Prize winners. So tell me, do you know who was the first Nobel Prize winner? Maybe you knew, maybe you've never heard of him, but the first winner of the Nobel Prize in Literature was Céline Prudhomme. How many women have, since its existence, up until now won a Nobel Prize in literature? If you're playing this with a partner, the person who gets closest to the answer gets the point. And if you guess 16, you would be correct. Who is the first and only musician ever that got the Nobel Prize in literature? If you knew the answer was Bob Dylan, congrats, you've got yourself a point. How many Austrians have won a Nobel Prize in literature? You know, I just simply had to bring in a question about the country that I'm living in. I am not really expecting you to know the answer on this one, but maybe you've guessed correctly, and if you did, you maybe have guessed 2. Who was the first one to deny the Nobel Prize of Literature? The answer to this one is Boris Pasternak. He's the author of Dr. Zhivago. And the other one, just for your information, was Jean-Paul Sartre. Now let me hit you with another quick question. So do you know how the street was called that Sherlock Holmes was living at? If you guessed 221B Baker Street, you were right. So let's move over to a category that I enjoyed so much while researching. This category is music. I'm going to play you a couple of songs with lyrics inspired by books. It doesn't always have to be one-on-one, but you should be able to guess the book behind it. Of course, I haven't done the lyric videos myself, so I will link to the original videos down below. I mean, technically, they are belonging to the artists. So here we go, let's start with the first one.
You had a temper like my jealousy, too hot, too greedy. How could you leave me when I needed to possess you? I hated you, I loved you too. Bad dreams in the night, it told me I was going to lose the fight. Leave behind my wandering, wandering, wandering hide, see clear. It's me, Kathy, I've come home. I'm so cold, let me in your window.
I left you a bit of the chorus there, even though it was quite obvious after she sang the bridge. This song was by Kate Bush. It is called Wuthering Heights, and this one is inspired by the book that is called Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. Fun fact, by the way, I don't know if this is true, but I read it in the comments, and it was apparently one of Tupac's favorite songs. Interesting, huh? But it is a good song.
Someday they won't let you, now you must agree. The times they are a-telling and the changing isn't free. You've read it in the tea leaves and the tracks are on TV. Hear the savage shore of 1984.
Another one where if you had waited just long enough, you would know the title of the book that David Bowie is singing about right now. This song is called 1984, as well as the book by George Orwell. The next one is a bit trickier. Not everyone seems to know this book, but I have full confidence in you.
Shiny, shiny, shiny boots of leather. Whiplash, girl child in the dark. Comes in bells, your servant, don't forsake him. Strike, dear mistress, and cure his heart.
If you have guessed 50 Shades of Grey, you would almost be there. It's just that this lovely song of the Velvet Underground is a bit too old for 50 Shades of Grey to have existed. It is called Venus in Furs, and it is inspired by the book with the same name by Leopold Sacher-Masoch.
Let's
I think you've heard of the band before. Their name is Nirvana. This was a song called The Scentless Apprentice, and it got inspired by Patrick Süskind's The Perfume. Finally, we've got a song that is not called the same as the book.
When logic and proportion have fallen, sloppy dead, and the white knight is talking backwards, and the red queen's off her head. Remember what the Dormouse said. Feed your
I would say that this one was pretty easy to guess. This song was by Jefferson Airplane. It is called White Rabbit, and it was inspired by Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland.
He says he thinks it's why he might like about me, admires me the way I roll like a rolling stone. Likes to watch me in the classroom, bathroom, chateau marmot, slipping on my red dress, putting on my makeup, glass film, perfume, cognac, lilac fumes. Says it feels like heaven to him.
Light of his love, fire of his loins, keep me forever. Tell me you want me. Light of your life, fire of your loins, tell me you want me. Give me them coins.
This one used to belong to one of my favorite songs when I was younger. It is Off to the Races by Lana Del Rey, and it is loosely connected to Vladimir Nabokov's Lolita. Now, she gives the whole thing a kind of new spin, but along the lines light of my life, fire of my loins should give you a hint right away that Lolita was not an unimportant inspiration for this song.
You have many contacts among the lumberjacks to get you facts when somebody attacks your imagination. Nobody has any respect. Anyway, they already expect you to all give a check to tax-deductible charity organizations. You've been with the professors. They've all liked your looks. With great lawyers you have discussed lepers and crooks. You've been through all of F. Scott Fitzgerald's books.
This one is another one where you could just sit and wait for the answer. It is by Bob Dylan. It is called The Ballad of the Thin Man, and it was probably inspired by F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby. Quick round. How are the protagonists of The Three Investigators called? The Three Investigators used to be a thing that my cousin loved to listen to as an audio play, and the three original protagonists for this one were Justus Jonas, Peter Shaw, and Bob Andrews. Probably Justus Jonas, I just pronounced it in a German way, sorry. On to the next topic, which is The King of Horror. He is pretty popular, so I figured some people might know the one or the other thing about him. Don't worry, this section is not going to be too long. So the first question is, under which pseudonym did Stephen King publish a total of 7 books? The pseudonym was Richard Bachman. I'm gonna write it out, I just did another pronunciation round in German. Now, are you a fan of the movies to his books? Because my next question will be, how many movies and series are altogether based on books by Stephen King? And I am including the 7 that he wrote under a different name. Now, if you are playing with a partner, again, the person who has come closest to the right answer has won. According to my sources, there are 84 pieces of film that are based on novels or short stories of Stephen King. Don't worry if this wasn't your category, this is going to be the last question about Stephen King. Which book by Stephen King has actually had 2 remakes done to it? If you said Carrie, then you would be correct. Carrie was the first movie to ever be produced based on a Stephen King novel, and since then it had a remake in 2002 and in 2013. Quick question! In which of the annual Hunger Games does Katniss Everdeen participate? The answer to this one is in the 74th and the 75th annual Hunger Game. Welcome to the next section. I'm going to show you a bunch of movie scenes and you will have to tell me which book they are based on. If the clip that you are going to see is from a series, then I would like to know the part of the series that this scene is from. So here we go, let's start. Shouldn't have been too complicated. You probably have guessed Harry Potter right, but did you know which part it was from? This was Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Next scene.
Let me just tell you that not being able to breathe sucks. It totally sucks.
Oh, Marcia.
It's a fatal flaw.
Fatal. Hazel Grace, they don't actually hurt you unless you light them.
You have probably guessed it in the first second. This was The Fault in Our Stars by John Green.
I know books. I have 186 of them at home.
Ah, comic books.
No, I've read Treasure Island, The Last of the Mohicans, Wizard of Oz, Lord of the Rings, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Tarzan.
Whoa. Come. Who are you running away from?
Just some kids from school.
Why?
They want to throw me in the garbage.
Why don't you give them a good punch in the nose?
Well, I don't know. What's that book about?
Oh, this is something special.
This was The Never-Ending Story by Michael Ende.
Let me see that.
The Lucky 9 casino at the block has had trouble with counterfeit coin lately. Heavy, but brittle.
Oh, come on now. I've been here for hours. My money is good, no?
Zemini coin can take a bullet, but the knockoff... Busted.
I guess this was another easy one since a lot of people are watching the series right now, but the series, as I have been told, is actually a mashup of two books by Lee Bardugo, which is The Shadow of Bones and Six of Crows. So for each book that you've guessed, give yourself a half point, so that you've got 1 point in total if you were able to guess both of them.
Okay, rope, tape, cable ties. You're the complete serial killer.
Not today.
Anything else?
Another scene where you at first sight probably know which book this is from. This is 50 Shades of Grey by E.L. James.
I'm different. What, I'm the non-threatening black girl?
Yeah, you are. Your friend wasn't. He was a drug dealer. Someone was probably gonna kill him eventually.
Are you serious, Haley?
Yes. The officer did see a weapon. He saw a hairbrush. That looked like a weapon. What's this in my hand right now? You gonna tell me that this looks like a weapon? In his hand, yes. What about in my hand?
This amazing scene stems from The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas.
اجازه میدید درباره از قصه یک سوال ازت پرسم کنم؟ معلوم دار چرا باید اون مرد زن خودم بکشت؟ و خاطر که اردانه اشکش به مرودی تبدیل میشه. او را فهمید و من هم چرا بجای از یک پیاز پست نکرد.
This scene was picked out of the movie for Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini. And now let's move on to my final quick question. What is the genre that sells the most books? The answer to this one is children's books or children's fiction, to be more concrete. Anyway, this question is also very dependent on what you classify as what genre and over which time span you look at the sales. So now we've reached the end of the quiz. I hope you had at least a bit of fun. I very much did while creating it. Let me know in the comments, how many points have you got? I for my part know that I wouldn't have known nearly everything, and I've created this game, so don't feel too bad about yourself if you didn't know the answer to every single question. I will hopefully see you next week, and until then, I'll leave you with a goodbye.